From WFRV Local 5, your local election headquarters, this is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zaleski. Election day drawing near, and Wisconsin has a race in Green Bay. Coming up in Green Bay is going to be the race for mayor. And joining us this morning, Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich. Mayor, thanks for joining us. Good to have you back in the studio again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Into your election mode. You were elected mayor of Green Bay in 2019. Your assessment of your first term in office, was it what you expected? Were there any surprises? Were there some things maybe Jim Schmidt forgot to tell you about? How did it go?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to believe it's been 4 years already. Time has really flown. The one thing Mayor Schmidt didn't tell me about was the pandemic, right? I was not anticipating a global pandemic to impact this community and the state and the country. So that was definitely a curveball that I think we all had to deal with. But we've made a lot of progress in spite of headwinds associated with the pandemic, headwinds associated with politics as usual. But we've been focusing on making progress for this community, and I'm really proud of some of the accomplishments there. So, for example, we've made serious investments in public safety. We've added 7 additional police officer positions, additional firefighters, new technologies for both police and fire, major investments in our infrastructure as well, which was a major concern when I was running for the first time, something I heard a lot about. So we've devoted $20 million to improving our streets and bridges in this community, resurfaced or reconstructed over 22 miles of city street, made 11 bridge improvements. And on top of that, just continued the work that's been done in previous years on community and economic development. So we've got a lot of cranes in the air all over town, a lot of cool improvements being made in the shipyard development, which is just north of the Mason Street Bridge right here on the Fox River. A major new expansion of a manufacturing facility, homegrown Carnivore, which is a dog food manufacturer. They're out on I-43 Industrial Park, so $30 million plus investment there. We've got a new hotel being constructed on the far west side of town in the Legends District. So 4 Diamond Hotel, a lot of great jobs associated with both those projects, and the list goes on.
So you are not a stranger to this rodeo. This ain't your first time, as they say.
That's right.
You have been in public service for a long time before becoming mayor. 3 terms as 90th Assembly representative representing Green Bay. Your accomplishments in the legislature, what were your highlights there?
Yes, obviously served in the minority when I was in the legislature.
Right, yes.
But had a really good bipartisan record of collaboration with folks on both sides of the aisle. So focused a lot on education, was a priority of mine, served on the Education Committee for a number of terms there. But one of the biggest appeals of this position was the ability to make some positive change on a shorter time scale. And so that's why I made the decision to transition from serving in the state assembly to running for mayor in 2019, and certainly don't have any regrets about doing that. I think, as I said, we've got a long list of accomplishments. There's certainly more to do on all of those fronts. Housing is another thing that I'd love to tackle in a more serious way in the next term, because we know, we've got a lot of needs on the housing front, so we'd love to continue to produce new homes for folks across the area.
Did your legislative experience serve you well when you took the mayor's job?
It did. I mean, it's very different institutionally, right? I mean, in the legislature, you're serving as one of 99 in the state assembly, plus 33 in the state senate, plus a governor. Transitioning to the local level as the local executive, you marshal 6 votes on a common council, plus community support, plus my vote, and you're able to get some good things done. So that's been really rewarding for me. You
are a lifelong resident of Green Bay, family man. Tell me about the family.
Yes, I am born and raised in Green Bay, went down to Madison for school, and spent a few years working down there, but otherwise have lived in this community all my life. So my wife, Emily, also born and raised in Green Bay. We met in high school. And we've been married for 16 and a half years now at this point, and we've got 2 amazing kids, Henry, who's in 7th grade, and Amelia, who's in 5th. And I should also mention Emily's a school teacher in Green Bay schools.
We are back with much more with Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich right after this. Please stay with us. We are back now with Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich. You decided to run for re-election. What was the trigger? Was there a trigger that said I want to do 4 more years, or was this the plan from the very beginning when you were first elected?
Yeah, I mean, it was really important for me to sit down with friends and family and supporters and make sure that it was the right course of action for all of us. It's a big commitment, as I think everybody understands, and so it was not anything that was absolutely guaranteed. But there's a lot left to accomplish. I'm really happy about what we've been able to do in these first 4 years, but a lot left to be done as well. And so I mentioned, housing and economic development generally is something that we always need more of. And in the position of mayor, you sort of always have things in the pipeline and kind of waiting for the ground to be broken on a number of different things. So I mentioned the shipyard development is one that we'd love to see to fruition. We've also been working for some time, honestly going back 70 years, to relocate our coal pile operation, which is occupying 35 acres of our downtown waterfront. That's something that's made a lot of progress, but still work to be done there. Had a lot of conversations recently on the extension of passenger rail service from the city of Milwaukee to Green Bay, impacting the Valley communities very positively as well. So just a lot of things kind of left in the hopper, again, that I'd love to see to fruition.
I want to bring up 3 points that your opponent, Chad Weininger, has brought up on his website concerning how the city is being run. I'd like to get your response on some of these subjects, which could be taken as veiled criticisms here. First, he targets safe neighborhoods. Are we less safe now than when you took office?
No, I don't think we are. I think crime has ticked up just about everywhere across the United States, especially in the wake of the pandemic. But as I said earlier, we're really proud of our investments that we've made in our police department, in our fire department. So 7 additional police officer positions have been funded since I was elected. We had 180 when I came in. We now have 187 additional firefighters as well. On top of that, technological advancements, body cameras are now in place, which were supported, I think, broadly by the community, by our police chief at that time, as well as the police union. We have a NIBIN machine, which is actually used to track casings that are involved in different crimes. So what I've been doing is providing, all the tools that we possibly can to our professionals within law enforcement, and we've been happy with the track record. We can always do better.
Point 2 from your opponent, from Weininger, honest leadership. And boy, there seems to be an inference there or an implication there. Do you take offense to that? How do you respond to that?
I'd put my record up against anybody's in terms of integrity. I've really taken that responsibility seriously. I've led with dignity and respect for members of our Common Council and for our community, and I'll continue to do that in the second term.
And finally, fiscal responsibility. Again, the implication there is clear.
Sure.
Your response to that?
Yeah, I think it's really essential that we make investments in the priorities of the community. So we've made those investments in public safety and infrastructure and community and economic development. So I know, he's been a critic of my record on taxes, which I think is sort of interesting, given the fact that he's the architect of a $150 million tax increase on Brown County taxpayers. So I think it's important that we're honest and straightforward with voters, that it's vital to make these essential investments.
Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich, our guest this morning. We have much more to come, so please stay right there. Back now with Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich, who is seeking re-election in this April election. Mayor, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the surveillance equipment City Hall issue. Allegation that the city was spying on people, violating their rights. You, since the beginning, you've pushed back on that. So what do you say to those charges, and do you still stand by your decision?
Yeah, I mean, those are some really politically motivated accusations that are coming from extreme right-wing forces in Madison that are aligned with my opponent, Chad Weininger. Safety of our employees, safety of the public is always foremost in these kinds of decisions. And that's why we've moved forward with the security systems that we have in place. It's also important to note that a similar system has been in the Green Bay Police Department lobby for nearly a decade. It's been at our transit lobby for longer than that. It's on every city bus, not just in Green Bay, but most systems across the state of Wisconsin. City of Racine, City of Oshkosh, Manitowoc County, and probably most importantly, within our sheriff's department's lobby here. So if people that are aligned with Chad Weininger have a problem with these kinds of systems, they might want to talk to the sheriff or some of these other municipalities around the state of Wisconsin.
And are you comfortable that the signage that you put up is enough of an indicator for people to realize that the equipment is there?
We are. The equipment has been taken down because that was a position of our common council, and certainly, we're abiding by that. But I'm really interested in having a serious conversation about security and safety at City Hall. I think a lot of people understand that folks who are working in public service are under more scrutiny than ever before. We have conspiracy theorists who have intentionally targeted election administration within the city of Green Bay and other communities, and it's led to feelings of insecurity and an unsafe workplace in some instances.
You talked on that issue, the 2020 election. You were accused of not having enough polling places. Why were there not more polling places, and would you do things differently?
Well, I think you're referring to April of 2020.
Yeah.
In that instance, that's 3 weeks into the pandemic, right? We had upwards of 90% of our poll workers drop out for fear of their safety. So that was a really difficult experience for everybody concerned. As a result of that, we pivoted to November 2020, and we were able to bring down a lot of additional assistance to make sure that we had the appropriate both safety equipment and voting equipment in order to handle the absentee balloting that was being increased as a result of the pandemic. So we got rave reviews in terms of the voter experience in November 2020. So we're really proud of that.
Are elections secure? I know that there's a faction out there without evidence saying that there continues to be a problem with secure elections. Do we have secure elections in Green Bay in your mind?
Absolutely. Yeah? No, we have safe, secure, free and fair elections in the city of Green Bay and by and large across the state of Wisconsin. And we're very fortunate to have Celestine Jeffries working as our city clerk. She and her team and all of the volunteers and poll workers associated with our election do a fantastic job every single time.
You talked about COVID and how it impacted the ability to person the elections. Yeah. How else did COVID affect you and your office outside of elections? Yeah,
I mean, it had such a major impact on all employers and employees and citizens generally. There's been a rise of remote work as a result of COVID. So that's on balance kind of a positive thing, I think, for employees. You see more flexibility within the workplace, but the health effects of COVID were disastrous for so many people, tragic for so many people, and thankfully, we're out of that at this point.
And we are back to wrap up our conversation with Mayor Genrich right after this break, so please stay with us. Back now with Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich. You've been in office for almost 4 years now, and not a whole lot of people know what a mayor's day is like from morning until sometimes late meetings. Right. I know there probably is no normal, but what's your normal?
Yeah, I mean, there really is no typical day. Sometimes meeting with folks like you, conducting interviews like this, visiting with school kids, visiting with business owners. Yesterday, I was presenting a few Mayor's Beautification Awards to businesses that have made some enhancements in their properties. A lot of meetings, of course, meetings with our Common Council and individual alders. But one thing that I've said since I was spending time in the State Assembly, the aspect of these kinds of jobs that I love most is the excuse to be curious. I'm a curious person typically, and so it gives you an opportunity to be a little bit nosy about the community that you already know very well, but there's always an opportunity to learn more about the individuals and programs and just different things that are going on in the community.
Yeah, what's best part of the job? What do you like about this?
It's really rewarding to get out there in the community and, as I said, just kind of learn more about what's going on. It's always fun to meet with the school kids and think about what the future looks like, the things that they're looking at. But I'm also a policy-oriented person by nature, and so I really enjoy focusing on some of the work that we've been able to do. So, mentioned public safety and infrastructure and community and economic development, but we've also done some really cool things in terms of creating an Equal Rights Commission for the first time in the city's history. We've made tremendous progress on the Municipal Equality Index, which is a score provided by the Human Rights Campaign to kind of indicate the work that's been done in terms of friendliness and openness towards the LGBTQ plus community. We now have a resiliency coordinator in the city of Green Bay for the first time. So Melissa Schmitz is always doing great work to fight flooding within the community and working on a comprehensive energy plan to reduce carbon emissions. We touched on elections earlier as well. We now have weekend voting for the first time in the city's history, as well as some evening voting. So I think there's a really robust policy agenda that I'm certainly proud of and that I've really enjoyed working on.
On the flip side, are those days where you wake up and you go, look in the mirror and, oh God, I'm the mayor? What don't you like?
Well, I mean, one thing that I oftentimes say is I have a love-hate relationship with politics. Right?
Okay.
I love the things that I was just talking about being able to work on, and the sense of accomplishment and community development that comes along with real positive political advancement. At the same time, I mean, politics as usual is as nasty and as ugly and as frustrating as the everyday person would expect it to be. And so that's the kind of stuff that I don't enjoy and try to rise above and avoid wherever possible. But politics is still a really noble and rewarding profession, and I enjoy it.
Your vision for Green Bay, what's the future like? If we are sitting here 4 years from right now and you are reelected, you're going to tell me we did what over these past 4 years?
I mean, move those damn coal piles, hopefully, right? But in addition to that, just more community and economic development and advancement for every single individual in this community. I mentioned the fact that we're still short on housing here in this community. We've done some housing studies in the past indicating we need about 3,700 new units over the next 10, 20 years. And so, we've got units under construction right now, about over 200 within the rail yard district on the west side of town. We also just had approval for 43 additional units in partnership with the United Way, Brown County United Way, in their new headquarters and neighborhood house over on East Walnut Street. But we continue to need to do much more of that, and so that'll be a huge focus of ours in this next term.
Mayor, any concern with this new housing about the affordability of the housing? Because I've seen these places that have been built up over the past 10, 15 years. They are nice, but they're fairly expensive.
Right.
Is there an issue with people who need the housing not being able to afford this housing?
Yeah, the developments that I touched on, the one in the rail yard and the one on Walnut, those are both affordable developments. So we'll have market rate units within them, but then explicitly units for people of low and moderate income. But generally speaking, we're short on housing from low income to luxury and everything in between. So we absolutely just need to continue to focus on making sure that everybody in this community has a high quality, affordable for their price point, place to live.
Beside the housing that you're planning on, what other development projects are in the works?
Yeah, well, I mentioned the shipyard, so we've got those public improvements that are currently underway, a riverfront promenade, a fishing pier, floating docks, but there are additional phases to take place with that. So phase 2 would include an urban beach, a great lawn, and some further enhancements, and then the container park is kind of that third phase that has been talked about for several years. So that's something that we'd love to do, and just again continued housing and commercial development throughout the community, and not just downtown. I think people have witnessed a lot of improvements at East Town Mall, thanks to Garrett Bader and the work that he's done in collaboration with the city. We're also working on some improvements on Military Avenue, which historically and continues to be a really important commercial corridor for the city. So, outside in, inside out, it's really important for us to continue to develop this community and the economy.
You have been heavy on inclusivity. Let me ask you first, where did that come from?
I think it comes from my upbringing more than anything. The values that I received from my parents and the values that I took from my Catholic instruction and Catholic faith. It's really important, I think, for Green Bay to be an open and inclusive and welcoming community, first and foremost because it's the right thing to do. But in addition to that, the communities that are succeeding in the 21st century are those that are opening up their doors to new ideas and new faces and new perspectives. And if you're not doing that, you're dying. You're losing population, and that's no way for any community to succeed.
And who specifically do you think has been left on the outside? What groups require inclusivity?
I think everybody deserves inclusivity. Everybody deserves a fair shot and a fair shake, and it's really important for us, especially those of us in public light who maybe have a bully pulpit like the mayor's office, to project that image and do whatever we can to create that reality for all people here in this community.
Mr. Mayor, I've got about a minute, and I want to give you the opportunity to tell the folks at home why Eric Genrich should be reelected as mayor of Green Bay.
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Tom, again, for having me in for the discussion. As I said earlier, we've made some significant progress on public safety, on infrastructure, and on community and economic development. I'm going to continue to be that voice and that leader who's really focused on making progress for everybody in this community and not focused on the petty politics that oftentimes sort of pollute local, state, and federal government. So really proud of the track record that we've run on, acknowledging that there's always more to do, but looking forward to tackling all those challenges in the next 4 years.
Does the petty politics sometimes get frustrating? Does it stand in the way of doing other things?
Yeah, I mean, it does get frustrating, but I think you just got to keep your eye on the prize and understand that there's a lot of good work that's left to be done.
Mm-hmm. Mayor Eric Genrich, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Much appreciated. And if you have a newsmaker in your town who you think we should have on this show, let us know about it. Send us an email at tips@wearegreenbay.com, or you can message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again Sunday morning at 7:30. Until then, have a great day.